Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to sort of impromptu Sunday night stream. Just one that I forgot to. Have I started this on the right channel? Yes, I have. Good. The one that I just forgot to schedule, so it is kind of impromptu. I am joined, as always, by a man that strikes fear into the heart of children and loathing into the minds of men, but he's my friend. Hello, Andy.
Loathing into the
Loathing into fathers all over the world.
Yeah, I suppose it's better to be remembered as something, I suppose, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. That would what would your tombstone say? Like, he molested a lot of kids.
Well, that's what you could do and expect it not to get vandalised. Are you sure this is streaming?
Yeah, it says we're live now. It says we're live. The chat has not actually come up, so I'm not really sorry. Something went wrong with the chat. It says there's 3 people watching, but I can't actually bring up the show chat. And then there's YouTube's down. Fuck! I totally forgot. YouTube's fucked this evening.
What do you mean?
Oh, everyone's been complaining about it on the Scam Beta group. Like, YouTube is screwed. I don't know if you can bring it. Apparently, if you can have a look and see the chat, it should show. It's saying I'm live, but I don't know if people can hear us. It says there's 11 watching us. Nikki has just messaged me to say we are live, but apologies, guys. I cannot say hello to anyone or anything because I've just got a picture of a monkey with a hammer saying, sorry, something went wrong. YouTube has been has had a lot of problems today.
Oh, so because I've gone on your channel now and I can't find the video.
Yeah, no, we're definitely live. There are people listening to us, but we can't see what they're saying. I'm just going to see if I refresh and see if that makes a difference. But I got
well, how have they got in the chat then if we can't see it?
Well, I don't know if they can actually chat, but they can definitely hear us. Oh, and now I've just hit refresh and I've got a 503 error. Oh, this is fantastic. Excellent. This is... Oh, it won't even let me go back into my own live stream. Shit, I didn't realise this was affecting me because I've been listening to stuff on YouTube and it's been fine, but now I can't even click on live.
Should we leave it for when YouTube's working then?
Wait, I've got the chat open now. I did have. Let's see what happens. Right, hello everyone coming in. Right, I can now see the chat. Hi Nikki, hi Candy S, Adrian Blinn, Spazzy, DLS2356, SAS or SAS. Thank you for joining us.
How do I get the video up then?
I don't know. Because everyone's been affected slightly differently, but we are live and it does seem kind of okay. But yeah, YouTube has been having some problems today. So I don't know if you want to battle through or reschedule. Try refreshing the page and you should be able to get the chat.
Yeah, refreshed it 20 times and nothing's happened.
Oh, we've got 13 people in the room already, in the comment room. YouTube and Snapchat were both down apparently. Are they both Google-owned products?
Oh, it's still called Friday Funk.
It shouldn't be. I've definitely changed it to Unsocial Media, question mark.
I've got the chat up now, but it is just called it's called Friday Funk on my...
It'll probably...
Can you ask people in the chat what it's called?
Guys, can you see in the chat, guys, sorry, if you could inform me if it's what it says as the title of this stream is. It'd be really useful for us. If you would be so kind. We'll just sit in silence and wait for a moment. Hi, Karen. Hi, Wayne. Hi, Danielle. Terry says she can see us and hear us, which is all good. Oh, wait, she can see the chat and hear us, not see us.
Yeah, Danielle said it's called Friday Funk.
Right, I have updated it. Apologies, guys. This stream should be called Unsocial Media. Hey, Tiffany. Thank you for joining us. I've been spending the day... listening to your calls. In fact, Andy and I, before we came live, I was talking about some of the greatest quotes that Lorne did to you, such as Police of Chief. and he has some answers that need answering, which are fantastic. So thank you guys for joining us. See, Tiffany says it came up in her notifications as Unsocial Media, but now says Friday Funk, and I haven't
Yeah,
changed it.
and Tiffany, we're going to have a break from launch because you've probably had too much of him, so we're not going to be talking about him tonight.
No, yeah, you probably get that enough. But yeah, it should say Unsocial Media, guys. I don't know why it's done that. That's YouTube, not me. So yeah, I guess we're going to battle through if you don't mind, Andy. There's people
Yeah,
here.
we might as well, because, well, do you want to sort of explain to people what we wanted to talk about? It's a little bit, I mean, we've touched upon it lots of times before.
Well, yeah, we kind of wanted to discuss like mental health to an extent and how social media has a worse effect on it than Andy sent me some pages from a book he's been reading, and I was like, this looks fantastic, to be honest. So I've downloaded the ebook, but I'm only on the 3rd chapter, which it's called. I highly recommend it, only from the first 3 chapters that I've read. But it's called Selfie: How the West Became Self-Obsessed. But the first chapter, and especially like related to those of you that heard my rather personal stream a few days ago, it was quite close to the bone for me, because it was talking about like depression and mental health, and how social media, since the birth of social media, how there's been such a large rise in these in this sort of case of depression. And the problem is because we look at Facebook and you see people's like having such happy lives, like, oh, I'm getting married, I've got a family and stuff, and we feel our lives should be that way, but to us, or to a lot of us, it isn't like that. But yet at the same time, you kind of feel like, oh, I need to post something on Facebook to say how happy my life is and how great it is. So yeah, it's a very interesting yet kind of difficult topic to talk about, which we'll try and handle to an extent with kid gloves. But yeah, I guess that's what we're talking about, isn't it, Andy?
Yeah, I mean, we've done streams and stuff about like Facebook. Everybody talks about it, but social media as a whole is changing the whole world. Really, it's changing how we interact with our family, our friends, how we think, how we judge ourselves and other people. It literally is changing the planet, and we're entering a new phase of the how can I put it? We're entering a new phase of the species, like how the social element and everything, and it can be overemphasized how sort of a pivotal role point we are in a sort of where we're going as a race, as a culture, individual cultures, and mental health is so prevalent. How can I put it? Mental health awareness is increasing, but mental health in men, I would suggest, is probably a little bit. We've touched upon this a little bit more. I think men struggle with mental health a little bit more because they have a bit more trouble opening up, whereas women naturally, I think, are more comfortable discussing their emotions. I think it's fair to say.
Yeah.
But the book we both read called Selfie. You've not finished it yet.
No, I barely scratched the surface, to be totally honest. So I don't know too much about it, but I get the gist of it already, and I've read the pages you sent me, which were quite important parts of the book.
Yeah, it's about like how we create a self-image and how illusory that self-image is that we have. Most people are aware of it, but some people, I said most. Some people completely buy into their self-image and don't realise it's a self-image. They think that's who they are. When really, I mean, I don't want to get too spiritual with this or anything because I know it's not your bag, but, we have no idea what the true self really is, and it points towards that in that book. But, social media, it can be used for good. I mean, what we're doing now is kind of social media based, isn't it? YouTube is social media, so.
I mean, well, we wouldn't have met if it hadn't been for social media.
For Lorne.
Well, yes, we do. We do have an awful lot to thank him for. But
Yeah, sorry, Tiffany. We said we weren't going to mention him, but we've gone, 10 minutes, and then Lon's name pops up.
it's kind of hard not to. I mean, it's to be fair, as I was saying to you just before we started the stream, Andy, like just sticking on Clobbering Time streams. I've literally just been going through. I must have listened to about 5 hours worth of his streams while I was just playing FIFA because I was playing the. Rather boring to explain this, but I was playing the mode called Squad Battles, which gives you nice prizes.
Boring.
Well, let me just finish what I'm saying.
Boring.
It gives you nice prizes on a Sunday night, and so I wanted to make sure I got a high ranking, but because you're playing against the computer, it does get rather boring, so I stuck the streams on to listen to while I was playing it. So, as loathsome a character as Lorne Armstrong is, he did provide me with my entertainment for this whole afternoon. But anyway... He's not allowed on the internet, so to an extent he might not be quite affected by the issues we're talking about so much as you and I are. And I think it's very easy for people these days to find kind of validation online, which you wouldn't have done before the internet or before social media, perhaps. I mean, the internet itself is great because you've got all this information at your fingertips. Hi, G-Man. You've got all this info. And hey, Brendan as well. And Spazzy and anyone I haven't said hello to, sorry. But you've got all this great information at your fingertips. But at the same time, it's kind of, it's all being used now for like validation of the self. Like, you know, I'm guilty of it. When we went to Cyprus, I put my holiday photos up. It's like, yeah, look where I am. This is great. I'm having a great time. But I was having a good time.
Can I ask you about that, though?
Yeah.
Because I did that as well. I put the odd photo up, so I'm not like, having to go at anybody because that'd be ridiculous. But whenever I do anything on Facebook, I always try and ask myself a question of why am I doing it? Am I doing it for attention? Am I doing it because I feel good when I get likes? There's nothing wrong with those things as long as you don't need it for to get by, really. I think it can be a dangerous thing. And so when you were posting the photos, what's the main reason that you do it?
Well,
is it because you want people to think that you're having a great time because it makes you...
in fact, you'll probably be maybe a bit surprised at the reason. It's more because at some point I'll lose all those photos on my phone. So I kind of use Facebook to an extent as an online photo album. Because I'm not the sort of person that would go to a place and get them printed off and keep books of them, but I don't want to lose those photos. I'd like to be able to go back to them whenever I want. So it's more for my personal use, although they are being shared publicly. It's more so that at points if I ever want to go back and go, oh, that was a nice holiday, they're right there, I know where they are. Let's say, because if I go to the pub tonight, get drunk and lose my phone, then they're gone, aren't they? Whereas if they're on Facebook, they're somewhere permanent that I'm not going to lose them.
So is that the real reason then? Would you have not uploaded any... If that wasn't the case and you didn't need to do that, would you have uploaded any photos?
Well, if you actually go through my Facebook and look at the photos that I upload, they always tend to be of like nice places that I be and that sort of thing. I mean, yeah, I think people wanted to see them. I think some people would like to see where we are. But other than that, I wasn't doing it going, oh, I hope I get likes from this. Certainly not. If I would say when it comes to like wanting kind of, maybe validation is the wrong word, but wanting kind of, what's the word I'm looking for here? But like if I put a tweet out that I think's really funny and it doesn't get any likes, that might get to me a lot more than if I put my Facebook photos up and no one likes them. I don't really care about that because they're more for me to go back and look at whenever I want. But for me, it's probably more with Twitter. I have more of that social media feeling of like, if I put something out that I remember I put out a long time ago, I put out this little kind of parody rap tweet that was in regards to scam baiting, and it didn't get a single like. And I was like, I thought that was so funny. That really actually kind of, not hurt, but was a bit depressing that I'd thought of something I thought was really funny and obviously no one else did.
Yeah, and really, if you kind of look into that and you sort of establish the reasons why nobody liked it, really, there's nothing to get offended about, is there? But because you're seeking that validation from perhaps the wrong place, you end up getting pissed off over nothing.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, the thing is with... I mean, obviously, Facebook is just one aspect of social media. I've been I've got an addiction to it. I freely admit it. I've got a smartphone. I use it a lot. My smartphone is my life. Well, not my life, but I'm a big music fan. So every time I walk somewhere in the sun, I've always got my headphones on, and my entire music library is on my phone, and it's fucking brilliant. It's such a
Hmm.
fantastic piece of technology. If you're into your music, and I've got a very expensive pair of headphones. Not that I'm saying, oh, look at me. I'm just saying I invest a lot of money into it. So, in other words, it's a fantastic device. As most people do. I've got a Facebook app on it,
Yeah.
and I've got a YouTube app. So there's always something that's drawing my attention in, and you
Oh,
have to be sorry,
yeah.
sorry.
No, it's just yeah, but you go on a train or a bus or anything or a waiting room of any kind, and you look and everyone is sitting there on their phones these days.
But it isn't. It's not. I mean, it's quite obvious, and the book talks about it as you'll get further into it. It's not healthy. I went to my
Hmm.
friend's just before the girl I was telling you about, and we were sat there in a living room, and I've not spoke to her like properly. We've not had a conversation in a couple of months, and we were both on our phones. And I had to stop myself. I was like, "What am I doing?" Do
Yeah.
you know what I mean? And it's. I don't want to get too conspiracy theory-ish with all this, but I do believe that the powers that be, these people that make the money by consumerism, by like selling shite and whatnot, and want control over the masses. They want us to be glued to our phones. They want us to be looking at shit and
Hmm.
seeing what each other's eating for our tea, and getting angry about comments and
Yeah.
this, that, and the other. And
Yes, but then you end up with this kind of hive mentality as well, where everyone turns. I mean, there was one thing. It was very early in that book where it said about the girl who made a comment and he didn't believe it. I mean, I'm kind of paraphrasing here. He didn't believe that it was meant this way, but it may have, or not a comment, a post, and it may have came across as racist, and it went much more like viral than she had expected it to. So she ended up killing herself because she was so
oh my
worried
god.
of the repercussions of what could happen, of what people were going to think of her. Um,
Oh yeah, but there's many suicides have occurred through social media. You couldn't be as close-minded to say, well, ban social media, because I
no,
would suggest that it's probably saved people's lives as well.
yeah, I mean, definitely, there's pros and cons certainly because you can reach out to people and be like, well, I'm not feeling great. You can talk to people. You can also speak. You can go on a website and speak to an absolute stranger and get some advice and that kind of thing. So there are positives, but I think the trouble is we become so kind of insular and looking for validation from these people that I mean I've got what I don't know maybe 350 friends on Facebook and in real life I probably speak to 20 of them.
Yeah, that's exactly. I think that's the same with me. I think I've got a similar amount of friends, but I went through a point of deleting, and I have a certain antisocial element to me where I like my isolation. I don't like being part of the crowd.
Hmm.
So I went through. I had about like 600 friends because when Facebook first came out, I was obsessed with getting as many friends as I could. And then a while ago, as you mature and I'd like to think I've become wiser, I was looking at the friends I had, and I was like, I don't even like you. What are you doing on my Facebook page? There's like people that I was with at school that I
Yeah.
never spoke to at school that I hated. Why are you now seeing what I'm doing with my life? So I went for a spell of deleting hundreds of people. Um, not obviously that limits my sort of networking. There was a guy who used to be my supervisor at work who sent me a friend request recently, and he was my supervisor about 3 or 4 years ago, and I fucking hated his guts. Not strongly, I didn't hate his guts, but he made my life pretty fucking uncomfortable for a long time, and I was like,
Right.
I'm not interested. Why would I want? Do you understand what I'm getting at? It's like,
Yeah.
why would I want that connection with you?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, there's people from school that I didn't really have any time for that requested me, and I was like, I think out of politeness, I did accept a lot of them, but I was like, why? What's the point? Like, I wasn't friends with you at school. Why are we going to be Facebook friends now? Because you're just doing this to add to your numbers. And I think that's kind of something that came from like the MySpace days of where it was like the more friends you had, the better you are. There was a comedian, or I think it's in the film. Have you ever seen the film Funny People with Adam Sandler? I know most of his films are absolute pants these days, but the film Funny People, although because it's a Judd Apatow movie, as with all his movie, goes on about 40 minutes longer than it needs to. But there's a joke in that where he goes. I think it's from that anyway, and he says like the more friends you have on Facebook, the less friends you have in real life. Which I don't know if it's true, but
that's an interesting way of putting it.
It's like compensating for your lack of actual personal connections. So you have all these kind of more distant connections with people through something like Facebook. You go, oh, look at my Facebook. I'm really popular. I've got 1,200 friends. So it's like, well, how many of them would actually, help you out if you were in a bind?
The person I like the most in the world, this girl at work, well, apart from you, of course, Adam.
Of course.
A girl that, well, she's on paternity leave now, but a girl called Sammy used to work with, and we were like really close.
Maternity.
Sorry?
Maternity.
Did I say paternity?
You did,
paternity leave, yeah.
I was confused.
Well, I suppose Sam, man, bloke.
Well, I wondered if she was in a lesbian relationship and she was not the one with the baby.
It could be, yeah. There's a lot of that goes on.
Yeah.
Anyway, she isn't. She's married,
right.
Had a baby. She is like such a great person. One of them like aspire to be more like her. She likes everybody, gets on with everyone, hasn't got a bad word to say about anybody. And she has never been on Facebook. And I think it's a sort of insight into. I'm not saying that every single person who's not on Facebook is a legend, but I think it goes a long way to getting rid of any biases and judgments. Judgments are I think, and I make judgments all the time, and I know I shouldn't. Judgments really are the root of all evil. Even little things like, disagreeing with someone's point of view. You can disagree, but especially like, Facebook is geared towards you making judgments, liking a certain person's post. Why would you look at something someone else has done or a photo they've posted and decide whether you like it or not? It's ridiculous. It's like what that Black Mirror episode points to. Why I like that so much. Yeah. Just wondering in the chat, has anybody... I can see the chat now. Has anybody seen the Black Mirror episode called Nosedive? I think it was the first episode of season 3. That's out Friday, by the way, Adam.
Yeah, I know. I'm really looking forward to that. Wait, no, I thought it was out in 2 days' time. It's out Tuesday, isn't it? The 5th, I thought.
Oh, shit, yeah. Oh, you're right. Yeah, I don't know why. I just assumed it'd be Friday, because that's when usually stuff drops.
No, yeah, it's out on Tuesday. I think that might be an all-nighter for me because I'm a huge fan of Black Mirror, so I might stay up and watch it as soon as if it gets released at which they normally do. It's like normally 1 minute after midnight, isn't it?
I thought it was in the morning, but me and my mate from work said we were going to watch it tomorrow together, so I'm going to have to wait with that, which is really going to piss me off. But it's sort of nice to enjoy it with someone. But Sue, I've just seen a comment from Sue in the chat. And she said Facebook is the spawn of the devil. Would you sort of care to elaborate? I can certainly understand that point of view, but I was just wondering if you had a specific reason as to, because we're trying to not give a totally negative view of it. It's a mirror. Social media is a mirror of the human condition. So we all know, and you'd have to be pretty naive to say that the planet is in a pretty fucking fucked up state. Human beings are fucked up, and social media is simply a reflection of that. It's mirrored by the people that use it, and there is some good and there is some bad. Is it predominantly bad?
I don't think it's predominantly bad. There's some nice things with, for example, my parents did Route 66 last year, and so my mum did a blog every day on Facebook, so her friends could see what they were doing, and it was, it's one of those things I think a lot of people wanted to kind of live vicariously through, because it's one of those things I think a lot of people, Route 66 is one of those sort of legendary routes that a lot of people have wanted to do, so if you can't do it yourself, you can see someone else doing it and that sort of thing. But at the same time, you have to look at the perils of social media and the problems that it can bring, because everyone's kind of vying for attention. And I don't know if it's mentioned in the book later on. And when I was reading this book that we've mentioned numerous times already, I was like, I bet at some point he's going to talk about the case of Amanda Todd. And I'm not sure if it is mentioned within the book, but that, that's a really sad story of just how things can go out of hand, become out of hand, because of this kind of hive mentality and this mob mentality that we tend to have with things. And that girl, like, I mean, you don't know the full ins and outs of the stories, but she made one silly mistake as an adolescent, and that kind of haunted her for the rest of her life until she took her own life. The really sad thing about it is, like, she even went and made a video on YouTube saying, I wish someone would just reach out to me and help me, and no one did. And within a few hours after that, she'd taken her own life. I think people can be kind of incredibly cruel on social media, because it's very easy to sit behind a keyboard and say the most disgusting, vile things to people without thinking about the effect they may actually have on the person that's receiving them. Because when we... Oh, sorry.
No, sorry, Adam, go on.
Because when we look at everyone, we go, oh, well, they're strong, they'll be fine. In regards to my own experience with, say, YouTube and stuff, I've had comments on my appearance and things that I found quite hurtful. I mean, it was speaking to my mate Scambait Central, he was like, if there's something you don't like, you just delete and block them from the channel. But for the first few months or the first year or so of having my own channel, I didn't think to do that. I engaged these people and I got angry. And even though I always kind of felt like I was coming out on top, because it was like, well, you can't be particularly intelligent if you feel the need to kind of tell other people that you don't think much of them based on their looks and not knowing them and this sort of thing. At the same time, I was bringing myself down to their level. And so I think I've mentioned it to you and you guys in the chat before as well. I suffered from quite severe anxiety for a while when my channel became, well, moderately popular, but there was a point where my channel had 200 subscribers and overnight it went to 2,000, and I was getting comment after comment, and I was just like, but not all of them were pleasant. And so you start suffering from I had trouble sleeping, because I was like, what am I going to wake up to in the morning? I need to be awake here to make sure that they don't put horrible things about me on here. Eventually, I got over that and was like, well, if people are going to say horrible things, they're going to say horrible things. And if people say things that I think I'm no issue at all with constructive criticism, but if they're going to say things that are fully out of line, then I'll just delete them from the channel now. But it took me a long time to get to that kind of point of view. But it had an effect on my mental health. It made me anxious and suffer from anxiety.
Yeah, and I only today... someone called me out on a comment I put on a YouTube video from months ago, where, I'm sorry to bring this into it, but it's, we don't need to talk about. There was a Star Wars video about the director of the last episodic movie, The Last Jedi. Don't worry, I'm not going to fucking start talking about lightsabers.
Yeah.
And obviously, I fucking despise that movie to the point where I want to... The devil in me wants to cause physical harm to the director. So, in a video that there was like calling him, I can't remember the subject of the video, but I just simply put a comment on that said, I'd like to punch this guy in the face repeatedly. And this guy put a comment on and said, you're getting violent over a movie, you need to stand back and have a look at yourself. And obviously my initial reaction was to put this guy in his place and say, I think my comment back to him was, have a fucking sense of humour, man. But of course, I shouldn't really be saying that. Even though I don't like the guy at all. You go on there, you get angry, and I consider myself a relatively decent guy. I obviously say stupid things every now and again, but I don't. I live a pretty decent life, and I'm not a violent person. But yet, there's part of my bad side came out in that comment, and it shouldn't do really, and that's the problem. But of course, none of us are perfect, are we? We always say things that we shouldn't and do things that we shouldn't. When none of us are perfect human beings, and social media, like I said, it's a reflection of that. And if you sometimes put a foot wrong once, you get vilified. It's like, when I made that comment about a year ago, it was like it's considered sexist, which I suppose it was. And certain people who don't like me, they use that as an opportunity to try and vilify me, and
Yeah.
not just me, but it's like an opportunity. It's like, oh, we've got you now. You've said something bad, so what we're going to do is we're going to fuck you over. We're going to use that, and whoever it was, well, we know who it was, but they made up their own channel, put that video on there, and ended up turning you against me, and it was like, well, okay. But that's the way social media operates, and that girl that you were talking about, it's not an uncommon thing, is it? Especially with younger people. There's some documentaries on Amazon Prime about one teenage girl who killed herself. It might even be the same one. What was the name of the girl you mentioned?
Amanda Todd.
I'm not too sure if it's her, but it was some girl who. What was the circumstances now? I can't remember, but anyway, very, very young girl, 14-year-old, got into an argument at school about some lad or something, ended up hanging herself. And it's tragic, isn't it?
No, it really is, because people are, I think in both of those cases, they're kind of young teenagers, and so they're easily influenced. And I'd like to come back again to what that book that we've both been reading as well. And there's the chapter that I've literally just been reading is talking about how...
Sorry to interrupt you, Aaron. Can we just tell people exactly what this book is? I know you've already done that, and then because we're harping on about it, people can make their own mind up whether they want to.
Well, would like to read it. Yeah, no. The book is called Selfie: How the West Became Self-Obsessed, and it's very, very interesting.
It's written by, is it William Storr?
Will Storr, yeah. But the chapter I've just been reading is he's talking about the ancient Greece and the philosophers, but also how in ancient Greek times, like, people weren't judged on whether they were a good or bad person. They could be judged just for being handsome or having a great body. And you think of people like Adonis or Hercules, and he was saying how it's kind of like how we still, as a united race, we still think of people with those kind of bodies, with abs and muscles and that, as being the ultimate thing. And when you see like a guy on, let's say, Instagram or something, and he's absolutely ripped, it makes me feel bad. I was speaking to my mate Steph the other day, because we got one of our friends who's neither me or Steph use Instagram, but one of our friends, he does, and he's been, to be fair, been doing quite well for himself through there. He's into some weird shit. I won't go into it. But anyway, there's a photo, because we kind of stalked him for a bit of a laugh, because he's a very close mate of both of us. So we kind of stalked him. And there's a photo of him, like, with no shirt on. And we were like, when did he get that ripped? What the hell is he doing? And both of us kind of felt this envy and jealousy because of it. And it's like, oh, our bodies aren't like that. But we're now being told at the same time, like, people are saying, oh, well, you've got to look further than just the physical appearance of things. But then when you look at the most popular people on something like Instagram, they're always the most beautiful women with the perfect bodies, or the men with the most muscles and that sort of thing. So it's very hard when I look at that and go, and then pinch the fat that's rolling over the top of my belt and be like, well, that's not me. It does make you feel a bit low in yourself.
Does that not... Can I play devil's advocate a little bit? And it does talk about this later on in the book. Obviously, I'm not going to spoil it for you because you're quite early on, but there is a... If you've got fragile mental health, or maybe you have got a deficiency in some area, whether it will be physical or mental, it's going to be very hard for you to take things like that. But do you not think that it can give you something to aspire to? For instance, a perfect body, for most people, is achieved. Well, not perfect, but a very healthy, slim body is achievable for a lot of people if you work very hard.
Oh yeah, but I'm not fat. I would say I'm slim. I've just got a little bit but I haven't got that muscle that these, all these people have, and that does make me feel guilty.
I work very hard at the gym and exercise a lot, and I'm pretty toned, I would say. But even, I look at videos and pictures of men, as I often do in my spare time. In fact, hang on a minute. And like, I look at them and I think sometimes, oh shit, I'm like, fucking hell, all this time I've spent in the gym and I'm nowhere near looking like that.
Well, I actually felt a bit guilty because I've literally just joined the gym. And I felt guilty because reading that book, he was like, well, since the birth of social media, gym memberships have gone up by 60% because everyone is trying to strive for this perfect body or to be the perfect person that we're told or that we kind of had forced upon us, and so we think that that's what we want, or we think that's what it should look like, we should look like, which is
Mm.
a little bit sad, to be honest, because it causes, let's say, perhaps I'm a bad example, but someone that has had an eating disorder, as in eating too much and things, and they're getting over that, and then they look at these guys, it's not going to make you feel good about yourself, but it's everywhere you turn. Like these shops that use mannequins, zero-sized mannequins and things, and it's, yeah, like we're always brought up, or in most cases, to judge people on the person, not their looks, but yet this kind of Greek mentality of the Adonises and the Hercules of the world is still being forced upon us by this social media. Like, if you let's I don't know, I don't know a name of a male model or anything, but let's say you're on Instagram and you
You
follow a male.
liar. You know them all.
I don't, but like, you're on Instagram and you follow these people because they look good and they've got great muscles and stuff, but it's, what are they actually giving you by following them? I mean, you follow me
Is
on
it? It's
Twitter and
like
you
I
get a
said though. Is it
laugh.
not something to aspire to?
But why would you follow that person on Instagram just because they've got a nice body? Is it
No, I mean
something
I
to aspire
personally
to?
wouldn't. I'm
What
just
makes?
saying that. Let's just say you're an aspiring young model, whether it be male or female, and you're following someone who eats right, they exercise right, they've got a good mentality. You believe. If you're following them and you want to aspire to be like that, there's nothing wrong with that, is there?
It depends, though, because this is a very difficult line you have to draw, because this is why people end up with things like anorexia and bulimia,
Oh yeah, of course.
because
Yeah.
they say, they think what you're saying there, Andy. They go, well, that's something to aspire to. Now, what's the quickest way I can get there? By sticking my fingers down my throat after every meal.
I never really understood what anorexia
Yeah,
was it. Yeah, I never
anorexia.
understood like the full implications of that illness until I watched quite recently a documentary on. It's pretty hard to watch on Amazon.
Hmm.
I think it was called Emma, and it's just the psychological effect or the
Yeah,
psychological illness, if you want to say, that these people have with these eating disorders, and you can totally understand it. And it's like with women, I kind of get why I touched a nerve when I said that thing a while ago, but
yeah,
people need to fucking chill out a bit, to be honest. Because women obviously are more sensitive about their weight because it's portrayed within social media and advertising or whatever.
yeah.
The perfect woman is a skinny woman and all that, and the perfect bloke is a really muscular bloke. And obviously, women predominantly are there to look good and attract the males. And if they
Well, not
feel insufficient,
predominantly. I mean,
sorry,
that's not their only purpose.
no, I said predominantly, as in attracting people. I don't mean that's their only fucking purpose. I mean, if generally speaking, the woman attracts the males, don't they? And the male's the provider, and the male sort of, has the sort of ego and the macho, you
You,
know.
you mean like yeah, like the male? Well, kind of social standing says that
Yeah,
the man should be the person to approach the woman.
yeah.
Yeah,
Generally speaking, that's generally how it went. And obviously, the woman, the work wears the makeup and looks good and smells good and all that. And obviously, the man has to. But I think that's why, even now, when there's so much pressure on young women to look good, I
yeah.
really feel how difficult it must be. A couple of my friends have got young daughters, and they're really having a hard time with them. And the amount of makeup that some girls wear, I've never seen anything like it. Me and my friends we went out yesterday, and we were in the beer garden in the pub near me, and there was a couple of girls just playing on the tree. In fact, it's funny that we were talking about this. My mate was looking over in kind of disgust, and one of these girls, she must have been, I don't know, 8 or 9, I don't know,
Mhm.
and she was climbing the tree, and she was wearing clothes which made her look like she was about to go on a night out, and she must have been 10 years old, and she was wearing like really skimpy clothing that you would expect an 18-year-old to be wearing on a night on the town. And I don't know whether that would have happened a few years ago.
Well, I think that's really down to the parents, though, isn't it? Like, uh, personally, if I had a daughter, I wouldn't. I don't. Without describing properly, and I know it being an 8-year-old, you probably took quite an interest in it, Andy. But,
Why do you think I was there?
yeah, this wasn't outside a pub, was it? You were in a
In
playground.
fact, have a look for my next upload on my channel.
What does that mean? Is it just you chasing children?
No, never mind.
To the Benny Hill
No, it's
music.
going to be mobile phone camera footage.
Oh dear Lord! Don't upload that. You'll be off YouTube quicker than you know it. But yeah, no, I think I get what you're saying, and that's probably like she's probably begged her parents to be able to dress that way because what she's been shown by social media, by what's on the TV. Kids grow up very fast these days, and so she's probably gone to her dad. I want to look like that. I want to dress like that, whether or not it's okay. I do think, and I know it's something we've said a lot of times, and we're kind of digressing from the subject matter here, but that kids lose their innocence a lot earlier due to social media because you have access to all of this kind of pornography or just pictures of people in states of undress which aren't necessarily moderated. For example, as we were talking about, like the Instagram models with their muscles and the women in like underwear, there's no kind of thing that says you've got to be over 18 or whatever to look at that, and so little kids do look at that and they go, I want to be like that, which is pretty fucking depressing.
Yeah, it is, and I think you have to be really switched on as a parent now to guide them in the right way, because you can't really exclude them from social media because that could be dangerous. So it must be very, very challenging to put them on the right path, to make sure they're not excluded, but also to not poison their minds and to get them to psychologically damaged at an early age, really. Not be too judgmental, there's nothing wrong with looking good and looking after yourself and wanting to go out and look great and wear skimpy clothing and do whatever you can. There's nothing wrong with that, expressing, I know this might sound a bit fucking corny, but expressing your sexuality. We are sexual beings, there's nothing wrong with that, as long as you don't make an identity out of it for yourself. You don't think that's your purpose, but even if you do, people want to make an industry in the porn business or whatever. There's nothing wrong with that.
No, that's fine if they want to do that. But then you
definitely
look at,
nothing wrong with
that. Again, we digress. But you look, especially among male porn stars, and the problems that they end up having with mental health. You watch that Louis Theroux documentary, I'm sure, Twilight of the Porn Stars.
Yes, brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Love those episodes.
In fact, both of those episodes, especially like that one with JJ, where the kid, like, obviously he was born with a massive cock, good for him, but he kind of got into the industry before he even really understood what he was doing. He was still playing with figures while he's making porn movies, and that's kind of sad, isn't it? Still playing with his action figures, and then he's off to fuck a woman on camera.
I know.
He had a huge career in porn. He's popped up.
I thought you were going to say, he had a huge cock.
Well, he did. He did. You can't. Well, I've seen it because he pops up in so many pornos, and I can't watch them because I know his person. I know he's a real human being. I'm like, I've seen this kid, and he's a nice guy. I cannot watch him banging a woman. It's really weird. But you watch when Louis Theroux went back later on, like, what was it, 5-10 years later, because he made the original documentary before the internet was as big as it is now, and a lot of them, because of
that blasted internet.
You've been cheating on me with the damn internet again. You've been talking to someone on the internet.
We were like laughing, weren't we, the other week? We were even talking about this in Cyprus. How Lorne has a personal grudge against the internet. It's fucking hilarious. It's like having a personal grudge against the wind.
But Lorne, to Lorne, the internet is a sentient being. That internet has been plotting against me.
You've been up to that blasted internet again. I fucking hate the internet.
You've been up all night on that internet. Get off that internet. You're not talking to me because you've been on the goddamn internet. That so-called cocksucking internet. Anyway, But no, if you if
Oh.
sorry, because Happy Day has asked, what the hell am I talking about? I was referring to a Louis Theroux documentary, which was he went and spoke to a lot of porn stars and kind of dealt with the mental health of porn stars and talked to them about that. But then he went back and revisited them in another documentary called Twilight of the Porn Stars, which was after kind of the internet came around, and of course, porn stars used to be big money business, but of course, with so many people making free pornography or much cheaper, that can just go. I'm not Happy Day. I'm not talking about a little. He was an adult. He was like 18. It was a guy named JJ who had just got into the industry, and he was 18 or something when the original documentary was made. But anyway, later on, Louis Theroux goes back and interviews some of the people that he did interview previously, and a lot of them were having such a hard time because obviously they would been making a lot of money, and now it's no longer possible. But anyway, we're kind of digressing, but we're still talking about. Mental health, and I suppose to an extent social media. Could you consider porn, well, media?
Well, it's the internet, isn't it? That blasted internet. You know, social media, YouPorn, and all those websites. It's all kind of related, isn't it? I suppose we're talking about the internet as a whole now, but it can't be. It's some really interesting points in that book. I'm really can't wait for you to finish it all.
No.
And it talks about the links between social media and mental health and suicides, and obviously there is a link there. There's no doubt about it. And I'd like to sort of go back a little bit to kids growing up and using social media. And there's a couple of like young like I don't know 16 to 18-year-olds at our place, like apprentices in various positions, and they fucking can't speak. Their social skills are terrible, but you stick them in front of a computer, and they're proper at home. And it's sad that people are like that. I think if you have bad parents, if you're growing up in today's world and you have bad parents, you're fucked. I think.
Well,
you are fucked.
Again, I think we're getting slightly off topic again, but I do understand. And also, if you kind of grow up where you're typing everything and everything's abbreviated, and I think to an extent, like, people don't realise that there's proper spellings of words that aren't used when you're talking online because it's quicker to write something in an abbreviation. And I guess depending on not just your parents but also your schooling, you may think that is the way to write. I remember once. We're talking a good maybe 10, no more than that, maybe 15 years ago. And I got chatting to someone online, and we kind of became mates, but like, the way she spoke, I was like, what? Like, every other sentence, like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, I've got to go and get my eats. And I was like, what does that even mean? And she was like, I've got to go and get some food. And I was like, right, get my eats. Who says shit like that? But like, everything was abbreviated. It was like spelling cool with a K, and not in like a fun way, like Kayla, like Q, but like KOOL, and and I think these people actually think this is the way that they are supposed to spell these words, just because that's what they've seen and that's what they've grown up with. You look at how vocabulary has changed even in just the last few years. For example, 5 years ago, if someone said to you, last night was lit, you'd be like, what the fuck are you talking about? But now it's a word that we know what it means. Or like, oh man, I went to see this really intelligent speaker. He was so woke. Like, we didn't used to speak like this. The internet's kind of, well, maybe not ruining, but certainly evolving our vocabulary.
No, I agree, and it's creeping its way into song titles as well.
Yeah.
People can't release a song title now, popular artists, without using these ridiculous abbreviated spellings of words, and Beyonce does it as well, and I find it very irritating. It's like, we don't talk like that. Don't start jumping on the we're not using a proper language bandwagon, if there is a bandwagon like that. I'm sure there isn't.
Maybe we're just old people that don't.
We're just grumpy old fuckers.
Exactly, we just refuse to accept change.
David Brents of YouTube.
I wouldn't even. I think if we were David Brents, though, he would probably be more like, he would hear those words and want to use them to sound cool, wouldn't he? I don't think we could really say we're even David Brent. I would say we're more just grumpy old fuckers.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, can I?
We have to remember that we are old.
Exactly. Well, not old, old. We're just more
Old.
mature. We're refined and we get better with age, like a wine.
Well, I've put. Never mind. Uh, yeah. Well,
Can I
yeah.
just mention as well, on the subject of David Brent, if for anyone that's got Twitter, I've came across this account called Tinder Like Brent, and it is actually so good. Like,
No, it will be good if you're a fan of The Office and David Brent. If you're not, it probably isn't.
well, no, yeah, if you're a fan of The Office and David Brent, it's just like people that they just start quoting David Brent to people on Tinder, and some of them just get so confused, like, what are you talking about? They just, like, their opening line will be like, because you get the first person's name on there or whatever, and they'll go, Jane, I'm fed up. And they'll be like, what, why? Do you think I'm funny? Like, and then it would just go into like the Office diatribes, and they're like, "You are weird."
Does he go? Oh, for fuck!
It depends. Like they use all different bits in it. Like some of them quote Gareth as well. The thing what does Gareth say? Like you have to make sure a woman is gratified. Like you have to make sure that it's like looked after. I can't remember the actual quote. Like she's looked after, like all her shopping's bought,
Yeah,
but that she's
gratified
also
sexually after
gratified
intercourse is what it
sexually.
says, isn't it?
Yeah, gratified sexually after intercourse. So yeah, for anyone that is on Twitter and likes the UK version of The Office, do check out Tinder Like Brent. I've just started following them, and they haven't tweeted in ages, but I went through and read loads of the old ones, and it was very enjoyable. Oh, the MILF Valley sandwich. Happy Day says the diner in Mill Valley, CA had a sandwich called the MILF Valley sandwich. I mean, who wouldn't like to get lost in a MILF's Valley?
Oh, yes. Yeah, so with regard to, because we've touched upon Facebook, you're on Twitter, aren't you?
Yes, I am, yeah.
I won't go on there because I think that too much of my time is already spent on social media, clicking on the Facebook app. And if I had that, there is no doubt things that I would like for instance, I'd love to start arguing with the director of the last Star Wars movie because he's quite a big presence on Twitter and he actually argues with fans, and I just get abusive, and I know the bad side of me would come out, and I just don't think it's wise. Obviously there'll be good things on there as well, but I think if you're a person who is on Twitter, Instagram and Facebook, some people need to do that because of the professions, but if you're on all of them, let's just say you're on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, what else have we got? Snapchat. What's Snapchat?
Well, Snapchat's in a bit of hot water at the moment.
Right.
Because let me just make a point. Luke, the title of this stream is actually Unsocial Media. However, due to YouTube's freaky things at the moment,
yeah, it's showing up as Unsocial Media again on mine.
Okay, yeah. So it's to some people it's showing as Friday Funk, but it should be called Unsocial Media. Snapchat's in a bit of hot bother for encouraging. I'm surprised you haven't got Snapchat actually, Andy, or not encouraging, but because paedophiles have been using it. Because the thing with Snapchat is, right, when you send...
Is that why you're surprised I've not got it?
Exactly. That's exactly the reason I'm surprised you're not on it. I thought you'd be all over that. Because basically with Snapchat, you send a message, but it only lasts for X amount of seconds before it disappears. I have actually got the Snapchat app, but I've never used it. Someone once told me to download it, and then I never spoke to them again, so it doesn't really matter. But yeah, Snapchat's been in bother because they're saying, like, with everything else, even, there's always a record with everything, whereas paedophiles are using Snapchat to talk to children because they know there's not going to be any evidence left afterwards. So, yeah, they're in a bit of bother about that at the moment. So I don't know if we'll see Snapchat around for much longer.
I'm sure that a big platform like that won't disappear, but I suppose my point was, let's just say you're on them all.
Yeah.
Do you not think that's too much for anyone?
Well, who says where the limits are? I mean, the thing is, there was a time when, like, the new big thing came out. I mean, I don't know if you ever had MySpace, but, like, first it was MySpace, then it was Facebook, and everyone had to be on there, didn't they? Like, And then MySpace just kind of disappeared out of the realms of reality or whatever. It tried to turn itself into a music streaming platform or something, but it was just shite. But it started with MySpace, and then somehow Facebook became kind of this behemoth of social media things. And I think Facebook far more than most of the others. Now, I don't have experience with Instagram, and I know a lot of people use it, so I can't really make a judgment on it. And I do think Instagram is very much more for the vain. From what I understand about it, and anyone in the chat could correct me if I'm wrong, but it's more about posting your photos and going, oh, look at me, like this. Don't I look great or whatever? But then Facebook is like that as well, isn't it? It's all just kind of very materialistic, and as much as we like to think that we live in a society, as much as we like to think that we live in a society where we don't judge people on external features or what they're doing or how great their lives are. It's like I don't know if you heard about this, Andy, but Tinder had to tell people to stop uploading themselves with pictures of tigers. Because apparently, like, I don't know why their reasoning was. I think because sometimes the tigers were not being treated well or whatever. But there was a huge thing where, like, the guys who were using Tinder that had a picture next to a tiger were getting loads and loads of likes. So it became like this massive popular thing. If you were on Tinder, you had to have a picture of you next to a tiger. I mean, how ridiculous is that we've got to a point where, like, but like you're saying, oh, look at my life. My life's so amazing. I've met a tiger. Oh, I'll definitely swipe right on him.
I've never fully understood why people have those want to meet wild animals in such circumstances when they should be out in the jungle. But that's just. It's like, you've never seen Blackfish, have you?
No, I've actually got it on my list on Netflix.
Oh, mate, please! It's one of the best documentaries ever made. It's pretty hard to watch, but what it does is it highlights how stupid we are as humans, and myself included. It would only be a few years ago that I would have found something like SeaWorld appealing. Because we wouldn't want to see.
I've been to SeaWorld.
Dolphins.
I've been there.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. Now, looking back, I've never been there. And to be fair, when I went to Egypt for the first time in 7 years, 7 years ago, I refused to go to one of the water parks because I was like, well, why would I want to see that? You know, it was like, but why would you want to see those animals in a cage or their equivalent of a cage? Why would you want to see them? Because we're so lacking in our wisdom that we don't understand the suffering that they go through, and that's what that documentary Blackfish does.
Well, when I went to SeaWorld, I was a kid. I think I was between 11 and 13 because we went to America twice during those years. And I remember, as nice as it was, like, cause at SeaWorld you could buy fish and you could feed the dolphins and you could stroke them and stuff with the fish. But I remember even at the time, and I didn't know, like, as a kid at that age, it never really occurred to me that these animals were being held in captivity simply for my pleasure. Never really occurred to me. However, we also went out on a boat off the Florida Keys, and when we went off the boat, all these dolphins would follow us in the water, and it just seemed so much more enjoyable to watch them in their freedom. Like they I don't know if this sounds ridiculous, but they looked like they were smiling. I know dolphins always look like they were smiling more, but they looked happy. They wanted to follow
you can sense the joy in them. I was on a boat trip in Egypt in the Red Sea, and we were going to another island, and I was begging the guy who was driving the boat, I said, please, there's got to be some wild dolphins around here. And he says, it's just luck. Luckily for us, a pod of about 20 of them started swimming at the side of the boat, and they were jumping in and out of the water, and it was one of the most magnificent things I've ever seen in my fucking life. And I'm fucking sure one of them spoke to me. Like, I was laughing my head off in the water, and it blew an air bubble up, and it was like, I felt like it was its way of communicating with me, of course, but that might be just my optimistic self. But you're right, you see them in that environment, and you're thinking, why would you want to go to SeaWorld and see that? But I suppose we're going off topic a little bit. I can't remember what the point.
I've gone quite far off topic. We're now talking about animal welfare, which is definitely a stream for another day.
Well, maybe when you've seen that documentary, maybe we can talk about it.
Yes,
because there's a lot. to get your teeth into there. And I've seen that documentary probably about 10 times.
And the only trouble is with things like that, I'll be like, that really gets to me, like animal cruelty and things like that, and so I'll be in a fucking state after watching it. That's why I've been putting off watching it.
It's not that brutal. It is, but it's not. It's put in a way which is watchable. And to be fair, there's more cruelty to humans than there is animals in that video.
Okay.
Because of what some of the animals do to the humans.
Yeah.
Which isn't nice to see, but you know, it's kind of like, well, you know, this we've asked for it. You know, we've done this to them.
Yeah.
But with regard to Facebook, I was thinking about this the other day because there's a lot of friends. Probably the majority of my friends on Facebook are all work related, and I've noticed that like a lot of people, and we've all well, I've not done it, but as soon as people are in a relationship, they have to put a photo of them and the missus in the photo.
Well, I think a long time ago I did that, or not, maybe not in the profile, but do you remember? I don't think people do it as often as they used to, because the trouble is you do that, and you change your status, like changed his relationship status or her relationship status from single to in a relationship, and everyone hits like on the change of the status, and like, oh, good for you, I hope you're happy, blah blah blah. And then a few months or a couple of years down the line, it's like they are single, and then everyone's hitting like again and go, oh well, they were never good enough for you, blah blah blah. It's like
really immature, isn't it?
It's just like, why publicise that to the world? And then at the same time, like I've been in relationships previously where people have said, well, you're with me, why won't you change your status from single? And I'm like, it's nothing against you. I'm not the kind of person
I've had many arguments with people about that. With girls, not like random people.
I would just rather leave it as that forever than have to go through the explaining, oh, now I'm with someone, and now, like, if you're my friend, you would know that now I'm with someone, and if you're my friend, you would know if we've broken up. I don't need the world to see that on Facebook.
There was a group of people in my local that I'm more acquaintances with. There's a couple that I just personally don't like them, and one of them started having a go at me and said, you've not had a woman in years, you. And I said to him, what the fuck, where are you getting your information from? And he just said, well, I just know. I said, well, what do you mean? And I was nearly getting ready to fight with this guy because I was like he was like just writing me off as some kind of loser, and I had to start showing him photos from my phone to say, well, these are the girls I've been out with. And I said, just because I don't post them on fucking Facebook. Yeah. And I just thought, you couldn't, like, sorry to use that word.
That's alright. I'm so offended.
No, but it's not a nice word, is it?
I really don't care. Have you never been in one of my scam baiting streams?
That's true. That's true. Yeah, but yeah, it's like it's just sad that you know, some people's, it's like everybody's life has to go through Facebook, and there's some really stupid things on there that wind me up. The immaturity of some people, like some marketing company will put a post and say, like, oh, tag a mate who likes eating crunchies, and then someone will tag the mate and go, look, that's us eating crunchies.
We fucking love crunchies. We're the crunchy kids, come on.
I know, it's just fucking, but you know, I mean, that's just a ridiculous example, but
it's a little bit creepy, some of that stuff, to be honest, because I put a tweet out a few days ago because I was sitting at home and I was like, do you know what, I want a new computer game, and I don't know what to get, and I was looking at a couple of games, and so I put a tweet, has anyone played Days Gone, because I know the original reviews were a bit bad, but apparently a lot of people are saying it's quite good now, or I've just come across this game called A Plague Tale Innocence, and I put a tweet out, and two like random people that don't follow me both put things on, one saying you should get this game, and one of them was like it was like an account of the character from A Plague Tale saying, we're waiting for you, with lots of little cartoons of rats and things, because for A Plague Tale, of course. And I was like, that's a little bit creepy. Like, I didn't tag anyone in this photo, I didn't put anything else other than the titles of the games, didn't put hashtag the games. How are they seeing everything that's mentioning their game's titles in them? To then go that far to just send some random person a message saying you should buy our game simply because you've messaged it, and you've not even, like, if I'd put hashtag A Plague Tale or something, I would get it because you can search by hashtags. But it's a bit creepy. It's a little bit Black Mirror that they've just they must do like a search for certain words and find them and go, right, well, we need to sell more of our games. Go out there and use your fake accounts to do this.
Yeah, it is. If you, the more you think about it, the more there is to, we all know like the algorithms that Facebook use and whatnot as marketing and, to get information on people, and you like it recognizes your voice speech as well. If you talk about something and you Google it, it knows what you're going to say before you do.
Oh, it's mental. Like you can look at something like just kind of briefly, and the next day you'll be getting ads for that, and you'll be like, I wasn't even that interested. I just googled something that was kind of distantly related to it, and now I'm getting ads for it. That's scary. But anyway, we're kind of digressing. We haven't. I think we've got a lot more to say about this, and perhaps maybe before we do another stream in regards to this mental health thing, and I want to read a bit more of this book, but I'd like to do a bit more about this in the future. But I need to kind of think more and be a bit.
Yeah, we need a more structured approach, don't we? Because this has been all over the place, and I'm gonna have to bail soon anyway. So I don't know whether you're gonna carry on or
no. I'm gonna go out for a cigarette, and then I'm gonna go and open my rather boring FIFA rewards. But we will, guys. I hope you guys have enjoyed this. Sorry, like the title may have been a little bit misleading because we haven't been as structured as we'd hoped to be. But I hope you have enjoyed listening to us babbling on as normal. Am I allowed to mention tomorrow?
Yeah, but you're not allowed to mention.
I won't say that. No, I know what you're gonna. Guys, say happy birthday to Andy because it's his birthday tomorrow. So if you put some nice.
It's my birthday now.
Oh, happy birthday, Andy. It's his birthday today, technically. So if you want to leave him a nice message saying happy birthday, and you can show your appreciation by hitting the like button as well. And thanks for joining us, everyone. And of course, thanks for joining me, Andy.
You're very welcome. It's been good, and we'll cheers, guys. Thank you. It's not something that the number that I've got to isn't something that I'm very happy about, but. I'm trying, 75. Even though we're talking about mental health, I'm trying to keep on the right side of it.
You'll be all right.
Have you got any evidence?
Well, no, but you'll be fine. Just whenever things get too difficult, just remember, I've got sprint.
I got sprint.
Just
remember, I'm not Lorne Armstrong.
Exactly. I'm not a sex offender. Well, I am a sex offender.
You know what I'm going to do if I get into trouble at work and I'm in some kind of disciplinary meeting? I go, it's that blasted internet.
It's like you've been on the internet talking about me, haven't you?
Oh my fucking god! Right, thanks for the birthday messages, guys, and it's been good. We'll have to do. Maybe we can sort of go into the realms of mental health a bit more next time.
Yeah, I'll try and get a bit further into that book, and maybe we could pencil in perhaps Wednesday evening or something when I've got a bit more to talk about. And I'll try and actually write down some notes because I think it's an important topic that perhaps we've approached a little bit too lightly this evening. So we'll try and get our teeth into it. Of course, it's a very difficult topic to talk about, but one that I think everyone suffers from, so one that everyone can relate to. So should be interesting. We'll definitely come back to this.
Oh, cheers, Tiffany. And cheers, everybody. So yeah, definitely, guys, look out. Maybe in a few days we'll sort of expand on this a little bit and talk about maybe more the mental health side of it and how it affects each one of us, and maybe we can relay our own stories. But cheers.
Excellent. And thanks so much for joining me, everyone. And happy birthday, Andy. Good night, everyone. Bye.